Welcome back, everyone. A brand new Mindset and Motivation Monday here on the Cabral Concept Podcast. Thanks so much for joining me to start this week or any day that you may be happening to listen to the show. One of the things that I wanted to share with you, and I really love being able to take my Sundays. I don't know exactly what your Sundays look like, but for me, when I'm writing my Sunday Rewind email, I'm doing it before the rest of my family wakes up. I actually like waking up just a little bit earlier, even on the weekends. Now, I do sleep in a little bit more on the weekends, but typically I'm waking up probably about an hour before my two daughters and my wife, especially on Sundays. And so what I do is I take my dog for a walk, I hydrate, I get everything done that I need to get done that I typically talk about, and that's only like 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes maximum, with my French Bulldog Moose. And then what I do is I just sit down and I read something inspirational. I might meditate, do some breath work just for a few minutes. But I always know that it's basically recapping what just happened over the past week, the good, the bad, and, some things that maybe I'm not even really aware of. I just try to bring it to my consciousness as I'm just allowing myself to relax and breathe and knowing that I want to be able to take one meaning from the week, something that I'm looking forward to for the week coming, but also maybe I learned something from the past week. And the thing about me is I just try not to judge myself or anyone else. And the reason I can say that now is because I did that for many, many years, probably up until maybe like 25 years old or so. I didn't understand really what I was doing in life. I mean, the limbic part of my brain was basically judging everything as good, better, best. I am better than, I am less than, this person is better than, less than, like all of these different things. And what I realized was, wow, I'm doing all this judging. It's kind of just been wired into my brain since I was younger. It's part of being a human as well as safety and kind of seeing where you're at in the world. But I realized this is doing me a lot of harm because I'm literally judging everything in my path. But the real issue is that I have a mindset of judgment. And if I have a mindset of judgment, that means I believe I'm being judged. So that's going to hold me back from wanting to get out there in the world and speak my message and try to do what I do, because I'll always be worried about judgment because I'm out here judging everything. So when I realized that, I said, okay, well, how do you stop judging things? And that's easier said than done. And what I realized was that I have to just become more self-aware. And it's one thing I'm actually trying to share with my daughters right now is listen, I know that you're prone to doing this, but really all I want you to think about is you're not going to be able to stop it right away. When it comes up, just say, oh, I caught it. Okay. Yeah, it happened. I said it. I did it, whatever it might be. But then you're going to say, okay, next time I'm going to try to catch it while I'm saying it, while I'm doing it, rather than just afterwards. Okay. So then you're doing it then. You say, okay, then own up to it, apologize, or just let it go. It's okay, just let it go. No judgment on your part for yourself either. And then after that, you're going to try to catch it right as you're saying it. Oh, you got it right in the beginning. Now you're going to catch it before you even say it or do it. Now, the real way is you're going to catch it before you start to think it. And if you can do that, then your brain is going to be able to rewire itself to say, no more. I no longer am that person. I am a person that, and you'll state the positive. So again, it's a little bit of a tangent. It's not exactly today's topic, but these are the things that I try to think about. And so when I look back on my previous week, and then I always am looking forward to the future as well, because I always believe that no matter what challenges I have going on in my life, just like you, whatever might be going on, I always believe the future is going to be better. I don't only believe it can be better, I believe it will be better. And I don't always believe, or I don't always understand how it will be better, but I just believe that it will be, because the alternative is believing it could be worse or will be worse, and that's certainly no way to think or no way to live. So what I try to do is I try to share those on Sundays, but as I'm thinking about it, I'm learning these lessons. And what I'm trying to do then is recommit. And that's what I want to share with you here today, is that I really believe that you and I overcomplicate life. We really do. So again, how I view life might be a little bit different than how you view life. But let's say we both set goals. And the goals can be it doesn't have to be anything monumental, but it's a goal that you have for your family. It's a goal that you have for your relationships. It's a goal that you have for your body and your health. You have these goals. You have goals for spirituality. You have goals for maybe your relationship with your parents, as they get older, or your children as they get older, whatever it might be. But you have goals. So you at least, maybe it's your ideal. That's what you picture. So what I say is this. no matter what your goals are, they're your goals. Don't let anybody else judge you for them. If you feel like you're going to be judged, there's that judgment again. Here's what I want you to do. Don't share them with anybody else. Honestly, like a lot of times we're told that we should share our goals with the world. Well, maybe. And you can, and you should, if you feel really confident, right? If you feel confident that it doesn't matter what anybody else says, you're going to do it anyway, right? I've been that way before. When I was in my 20s, I don't know if this is the exact definition of brash, but I was a little brash. I was stubborn. I was confident without really being confident. It was probably more maybe of an act than it should be, but I was willing to go out there and just say, you know what? You don't think I can? I'm going to prove you wrong. And it was mainly because I was battling for so long with health issues, and then I was relapsing, and it was like my own way of basically saying like, I'm going to show myself. Like I was going to show myself I was going to get well despite all odds. I was going to show all the doctors despite all odds that I would get well. And so it just kind of developed that persona. Now it served me at the time in traditional Chinese medicine. It's called the yang part of you. It's a little bit more of the hard part, right? It's like you have to be that way sometimes to lift you out of a really bad place. Because if you're too soft, if you're too weak, if you're too gentle, if you let things go, then you can just be taken away with all the darkness and the bad in your life at that time. So I felt like I had to rise up. And again, it served me well. Now, again, I've gone through that phase of my life. I don't necessarily need to. So what I'm sharing with you is this. There's a time to share your goals out loud. There's a time not to. But what you can't do is not set a goal. So I titled the show, The 2 Commitments That You Have to Keep for Life, right? You have to keep these 2 commitments for life. Really, it's the only way to have a happy life. I don't know, because I work with a lot of people with not just physical-based ailments, but the mental framework, the mindset as well. And I'll tell you that the physical is not difficult to fix. It's not. It's just time. It's like 3 to 6 months. And for the worst of the worst, I always tell them it's like 6 to 12 months maximum. And this is like devastating illnesses. So that part's not the hard part. It's not. You're just basically regenerating a living organism, if you want to look at it that way. Now, it's an electrical organism with a nervous system, and there's all of the different cells of your body, but eventually they renew, and they renew in about 120 days. And so that's 4 months. And so, yeah, you're a totally different person for the most part, with new red blood cells and nutrients and gut lining, et cetera, in 4 months. The trouble is you can't bring the old mindset with you. And so that's the part that, again, I find I love it. I find that to be the behavioral psychology that I continue to love to study. And I study that far more now than I study the physical health, because the physical health I've been doing it for decades, and I understand it. I believe that I understand it inside and out. Now I'm always learning, and I'm studying brilliant people for the future of regenerative medicine and even other advanced genetic-based things. But for the most part, I get it. I love it. I understand the circuitry, and I want to work on that. But the big part is the mindset. And that is the difficult thing, because I can share with you exactly what to do, but it is your mind that must grasp it. It is your mind that must commit to it. And so the first commitment I want to share with you is this, is that whatever it is that you want to do, you have to commit to it. Whatever goal that you believe will lead to a great life, you need to commit to it. But when you make a commitment, it can't be a weak commitment. Meaning, like, you have to see this through. So I believe a commitment is one that you can't break. Like, I look at commitments like I'm not breaking my commitment. If I commit, I've committed to speaking at an event, and I realized that about 6 weeks after I made the commitment, they had said I was going to be speaking at the event and building it up and all these different things. But it was a bad conflict for me, meaning like I had things that I really couldn't miss. But I said, you know what? I made a commitment. And when I make a commitment, I'm going to stick to it. And here's why. If you get used to breaking your commitments, what else do you have? Like, honestly, what else do you have if you're willing to break your commitments? I can't let that seep into my mind. And so this commitment was actually in California. And it's probably almost a year ago now. I flew out to California, and I arrived at probably around 10 p.m. the night before the event. I spoke that morning, and I was on a flight that late afternoon. So I didn't get in until midnight, 1 a.m., and I was literally in California flying from Boston area for maybe 30 hours. That's it. Now, do I want to fly to California do the time zone, sleep in a hotel that's probably moldy and all that, then get on stage, the next morning only to fly out in a few hours? Well, not necessarily, but here's what I wanted to share with you. I kept both commitments. The family commitment that I wanted to keep, and I kept my work commitment. And so what I was able to do was feel great by the end of that weekend. Because you know what? You always feel good after you kept a commitment. You really do. So when I was done with the event and I was doing some Q&A at after the back of the room, it was great. I was like, you know what? I made the right choice. It doesn't matter how tired I am when I fly home tonight. I'll sleep. I'll get some rest. I'll get some rest over the next couple of days. And then I get home, 1 a.m. or so, probably get to bed at 2, definitely don't sleep any later than, let's say, 6:37. Okay, not a lot of sleep. But I told myself, listen, now you get to keep your other commitment. And you can go to bed a little earlier tonight. You'll get your rest. You'll be okay. And so what that does, though, especially when you follow through with the hard commitments, like the really hard ones, if you can do that, well, you can make easier ones, right? So the more hard work that you do, the more tough decisions that you make to follow through, well, the more commitments you feel comfortable making. And these are the big ones. And then again, you have to look at it listen, don't make a ton of commitments, because if you make a ton of commitments and you are the type of person who's not going to break your commitments, you have to be careful. Right? You have to be really careful. I'm very careful these days. A lot of people want to do, hey, just a quick phone call, just a quick consultation, just this. No, because if you and I talk about your particular case, we're finishing it. We're figuring out. We really are. I actually had and again, I have to be very cautious of this, because I had a friend of mine whose dog was not doing well, and he texted me, and I said, let me see the lab work. Send it over to me. I'm here to help. And I probably spent 60 minutes going through the lab work, maybe 90 minutes. Then I did a 30-minute phone call. And then we were back in touch over the next few days, just making sure they felt they were supported, that I did everything I could on my part. So again, be careful with your commitments. It's great to make your commitments, but again, just make sure that when you are committing to other people, you're also committing to yourself. Because a lot of people don't make that commitment. They just don't, right? So figure out, that's what I always say, and I'll tell you, every Monday is going to be about this. Figure out what it is that you want in life. Figure out what it is that you are looking for to get out of this life. If relationships are number one, good. That's your main commitment right now, because I'm only asking you to make one. That's it. You can't make 10 until you can keep one. All right, so let's make one. Health, body transformation, family, relationships, career, finances. What's going to make the biggest difference? But not only what's going to make the biggest difference when you hit the goal, what's going to make the biggest difference as you're moving through the process? What will you enjoy the struggle? Because it's going to be a little bit of a struggle, right? So, you can take any of them. I'm not an expert in every area, but if your relationships aren't going well, or you've never found that right person, it's going to be some ups and downs. There's no doubt about it. If you're making $36,000 a year and you want to make $100,000 a year, you're probably not going to make that in one jump, right? Might be a couple different jumps to get there. You're going to have to learn. You're going to have to get additional qualifications, certifications, whatever it might be, job promotions. That's just the way that it's going to be. For your health, maybe you've tried a dozen different things. You might have to try a dozen more. Right? Or you may have to start doing some at-home lab testing. You might have to start reading more, taking courses, hiring a practitioner. These are things that you may have to do. But the thing is, if it's a goal that's important enough to you and you make the commitment to it, the journey along the way, well, you're going to become a totally different person. The person I am today is only because I struggled for 10 years. That's why people say, hey, do you resent all the different doctors who weren't able to figure this out? Do you resent the doctor who put you on 3 years of amoxicillin for some skin issues? Do you resent all of these different things? And the thing is, no. At the time, 100%. Everybody does, right? Everybody does. I wasn't happy. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I was miserable during that time. So here's the thing, though. I started to enjoy the struggle. I enjoyed the path to getting well. I knew I was going to get well. I just started to believe. After a few years, maybe I shouldn't have believed because it was too many relapses, but I believed I would. And then after that, well, now look at everything I have to draw upon. It is very difficult to keep me down. It really is. But that's only because I was kept down for 10 years, but I struggled against it. I overcame it. So if you build up that type of resiliency and you're able to overcome those challenges, well, again, what could keep you down, right? You're just going to set new goals, bigger goals, not because you have to anymore, because, well, it's part of the journey. It's part of the fun. So that's the first commitment. The first commitment is always self-awareness. Know what you want. But the first commitment is commit to a worthy goal, a goal worthy of you dedicating your life to. I mean, it's fine to create a 1-year goal, but hopefully it's leading to even bigger ones. Commit to the 1 year, no problem, but commit to bigger ones after that. Build up some wins. I like that. Build up some confidence, but then move on from there. So then the second commitment is this. And the second commitment is actually, it might seem trivial, but it's not. The second commitment is what allows you to actually have the life you want. But the second commitment is also the hardest. And it's committing to the discipline of seeing the first commitment through. Now you might say, well, that seems obvious, but I'm telling you right now, no. There's a lot of people who set goals. Think about all the New Year's goals, right? Think about all the goals and all the hopes and all the dreams you ever had as a child, 20-something, adult and beyond, right? That's the easy part. Not easy for everyone, I won't say that, but it's the easier part. It is the commitment to seeing that first goal through that you need to recommit to every single day, all right? So it's the commitment that you need to make of going after a goal in life. The next one is committing to the discipline to see it through. And that means keeping your commitments, the small ones and the big ones. And it's all of the different hours. Think about this. You have 168 hours in a week, right? You're going to spend what? 8 times 7, somewhere around 50 to 60 hours, somewhere around there, in bed, asleep. The rest of the time, 100 plus hours a week, you are with you, right? Man, I know you're with you when you're sleeping as well. I won't say that, but you are not conscious necessarily, and you're conscious for 100 plus hours a week. And a lot of times you're just by yourself. And only you know if you are committing to that goal, to that worthy goal that's going to make something of your life. And that, to me, that's the hard part, right? When you know it's just you, you know that, you could slack a little bit today. You could take the day off, right? Take it easy today. But what happens? It's a slippery slope. You begin to slide. Then what happens? Well, you begin to make excuses. And you begin to say, well, maybe even that goal is not that important to me. You know that it is. Deep down, you know that you want to achieve the relationship, the body transformation, the health, the spirituality, the career, the finances, whatever it might be. You know that you want that, but you start to make excuses of why it doesn't matter. Don't let that be you, right? Don't let it be you. You need to set up yourself and your life in a way that you're able to achieve those goals. Now, I know that you probably have an 8 to 10 hour a day job, taking care of your family, taking care of your work, whatever it might be. I get it. Totally understand. Go back. There's a podcast called The Missing 6 Hours a Day. What are you doing with those 6 hours, right? And even if it's only 2 30-minute blocks, what are you doing with those 30-minute blocks? How are you enabling your mindset to rewire your brain, your mind, your actions, your thoughts, and your feelings to get the life that you want? This is what we have to do. I'm telling you right now, if you can start to get back a little bit of a feeling of control of your life, you can do miraculous things. Things that would literally seem like miracles to other people. How does that person do it? Right? That is what they're going to say. But the only way that you do that is first, get concrete, get crystal clear on what it is that you want out of life. The second is this: you keep to your commitments, right? Don't set that many. That's what I'm telling you. Start with one goal and keep to that goal. If you only have one commitment, it's easier to keep it, right? You have a half a dozen, you have a dozen commitments. How many hours do you have in the day? Well, in the beginning, right? When you're first looking at it, not too many minutes. What I need you to do is focus on one. Lock in on that one, and then your commitment is every day working towards making that goal happen. Hopefully today's show was helpful. I appreciate you, as always, tuning in. If it was, please do feel free to share this show with anyone you believe it could serve. Take care, everybody. Have an amazing day.